Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling maybe the biggest journey there is, mapping the human lifespan.
That's a huge undertaking.
Right. We're looking at how we change psychologically, systematically from the very beginning,
Conception.
all the way through to the end. We have some great sources to guide us.
And this field, developmental psychology, it's incredibly ambitious. It's not just about kids.
No, it's the whole lifespan, how we change physically, mentally, socially.
Across every single stage, it basically defines who we are moment to moment.
And as soon as you start talking about defining who we are, you bump right into that classic debate.
Nature versus nurture always comes up.
Is it our genes, our DNA, or is it, our environment, how we're raised?
Well, the consensus now, and our sources really back this up, is that it's not or. It's not a competition.
It's both.
Exactly. It's a constant interaction. Genes and experience working together, shaping us continuously.
Okay, so when we talk about the nature part, that biological unfolding based on our genes, there's a specific term for that, right?
Yes, maturation.
Maturation.
It's a biological unfolding of the organism, kind of like following its genetic blueprint. Think of it as the schedule for hitting milestones, like walking or puberty.
So the genes set the potential schedule.
Right, but the environment, that influences how and how well that schedule plays out.
Got it. So let's trace that journey of maturation, starting right at square one, prenatal development, that 9-month blueprint.
Okay. We often hear about the 3 trimesters, which is, helpful for tracking pregnancy.
Sure, 3 months each.
But from a developmental angle, it's more useful to look at 3 distinct stages of growth happening inside.
Okay, what's the first one?
It starts immediately, the germinal stage. This is incredibly rapid. From fertilization until that little zygote successfully implants in the uterine wall.
A critical first step, almost like a race to attach.
It really is. Then we move into the embryonic stage. This runs from about week 2 to week 8.
Only 6 weeks.
Yes, but arguably the most crucial period. The developing organism is now called an embryo.
And this is when the big stuff starts forming.
Absolutely. Major organ systems are being laid down. The neural tube, which becomes the brain and spinal cord, starts developing rapidly here.
Okay.
Basic structure gets built. It's a very vulnerable time.
Makes sense. And after 8 weeks.
We enter the longest phase, the fetal stage. This goes from 9 weeks right up until birth.
So the foundation is laid, now it's about building on it.
Exactly. All the major organ systems are basically formed by week 12, and now the fetus just grows, matures, refines everything.
And during this stage, there's that point, the age of viability.
Right, that's the point, usually towards the end of the 2nd trimester, where the fetus might be able to survive outside the womb, but usually requires significant medical help.
But it's not guaranteed.
Not at all. Our sources highlight a tough reality. Infants born right at that edge, especially those under, say, 2 pounds, still have a very low survival rate, even with top-notch medical care.
It really shows how vital that full internal development period is.
Definitely. And that whole internal world relies on an amazing support system.
The amniotic sac.
Yep, holding the amniotic fluid, which cushions the fetus. And critically, the placenta.
The connection point.
It's the lifeline. The placenta manages the exchange nutrients, oxygen, antibodies go from mother to fetus.
And waste goes back out.
Precisely. It's an incredible biological filter.
Which, of course, brings up the risks. Because if good things can cross the placenta.
So can harmful things. And that leads us to teratogens.
Teratogens. Okay, define that for us.
These are environmental agents, could be chemicals, drugs, diseases, pollutants that can cause harm or abnormal development during the prenatal period.
And timing matters here, right? Especially during that embryonic stage.
Hugely important. When exposure happens can be even more critical than the dose, particularly when those major organ systems are first forming.
But let's look at some key areas. Simple things first, like maternal nutrition.
It's fundamental, not just eating well, but adequate nutrition is structurally necessary. Malnutrition is clearly linked to things like premature birth, low birth weight.
And there's that really specific recommendation, folic acid.
Yes, that's a standout example. The advice is for all women of childbearing age to get 400 micrograms of folic acid daily.
Why that specifically?
It dramatically reduces the risk of serious neural tube defects, like spina bifida, a tiny nutrient with massive developmental consequences.
Okay. What about other environmental threats? Infections.
Certain infections can be devastating. Rubella, German measles, if contracted during pregnancy, can cause severe birth defects.
STDs.
Yes. Things like HIV/AIDS, syphilis can be transmitted from mother to fetus. It highlights the need for comprehensive parental health.
Then there are lifestyle choices. Smoking.
A major teratogen. Maternal smoking is clearly linked to higher risks of miscarriage, premature birth, low birth weight.
And CIRES, right. Sudden infant death syndrome.
Yes, an increased risk there too.
But one of the biggest preventable threats, especially to cognitive development, is alcohol.
Absolutely. The sources are unanimous on this. Maternal alcohol consumption is the known cause of fetal alcohol syndrome, FAS.
And FAS is a leading cause of
Intellectual disability. It causes a range of physical and cognitive problems, and they are permanent.
And there's no known safe amount of alcohol during pregnancy.
None. That's why the recommendation is complete avoidance. The potential damage is just too severe and entirely preventable.
It's maybe the clearest example of how nurture, or rather a harmful environmental input, can dramatically alter nature, the genetic path.
A stark example, yes.
Okay, so that brings us to birth. We move from the womb to the world outside. Let's shift to Module 2. The learner in the crib. Infant development. So that's the first thing we notice.
Well, newborns aren't blank slates. They arrive equipped with a set of automatic, unlearned responses. Reflexes.
Reflexes for survival.
Many are, like the rooting reflex, touch a baby's cheek, they turn their head that way looking for the nipple.
And the sucking reflex is obvious.
Right, for feeding. Even the eye blink reflex, automatic protection for the eyes.
But some seem stranger, almost like echoes from the past, like the Moro reflex.
Ah, yes, the startle reflex. If a baby hears a loud noise or feels like they're dropping.
They fling their arms and legs out, arch their back, then pull it all in.
Exactly. It looks dramatic, but the thinking is, it's an ancient reflex. If a primate infant was losing his grip while being carried.
That motion might help them grab back onto the parent.
Precisely, an evolutionary leftover.
And that palmar grasp is incredibly strong, too. Put your finger in their palm.
And they grip it so tight you could almost lift them. Again, likely related to clinging.
Even the Babinski reflex. Stroking the foot sole makes the toes fan out.
It's less about survival now, but it's a key diagnostic sign for neurologists checking nerve development.
So these reflexes show they're ready to engage. What about their senses? Is the world just a blur?
That's a common myth, but no. Vision is the slowest sense to fully develop its sharpness, its acuity.
But they can see things.
Oh, yes. Right from the start, they prefer looking at patterns that resemble faces over random patterns.
Really, that specific?
Yes. And within just a few days, they can often recognize and show a preference for their mother's face.
Wow. And vision develops pretty quickly then.
Relatively. By 1 month, they can track moving objects. Basic color vision comes online around 2 months.
And depth perception. Crucial for getting around.
That starts developing more fully around 6 months, right when they might be starting to move more independently.
Okay, so vision takes time. What about other senses? Hearing.
Hearing is remarkably sharp right away. Newborns are very sensitive to sounds, especially sounds within the frequency range of the human voice.
Like they're pre-tuned to listen to us speak.
It certainly seems that way. It facilitates language learning.
And smell. Taste.
Also quite acute. They can recognize their mother's unique scent within the first week. And they definitely prefer sweet tastes over sour or bitter. Helps with feeding.
It's amazing how prepared they are. And what about learning? Can newborns actually learn and remember?
They are surprisingly capable learners. Studies show infants can retain memories of simple actions they learned for several weeks.
Even that young?
Yes. And by 6 or 7 months, they can remember faces they saw or word sounds they heard just the day before. Memory develops fast.
And this connects back to prenatal development, doesn't it?
It does. Remember how newborns prefer their mother's voice and sounds reflecting their native language.
Yeah.
That's clear evidence that learning, specifically auditory learning, is happening before they're even born. They're hearing muffled sounds through the amniotic fluid and processing them.
So the environment starts shaping the brain way before day one outside.
Absolutely. And this continuous learning and maturation allows them to hit those predictable motor milestones.
Ah, the sequence of physical skills.
Yeah.
Rolling over, sitting, walking.
Right. And what's striking is how consistent this sequence is across almost all infants, regardless of culture. It really shows the power of that maturational blueprint.
That consistency is key. So what's the typical timeline?
Well, birth to 1 month is mostly about reflexes, maybe mimicking some facial expressions.
Yeah.
2 to 3 months, they gain head control, lifting their chin, starting to bring objects to their mouths intentionally.
4 to 6 months seems like a big jump.
It is. Grasping objects, both still and moving, and the big one rolling over.
Then stability starts.
7 to 9 months, typically. Sitting up without support, maybe pulling themselves up to stand while holding onto furniture.
And the grand finale of year 1.
Usually between 10 and 12 months, we see walking first, holding on, then taking those first independent steps. That universal sequence points strongly to biological programming.
As they master movement, their social world expands too. Let's move into Module 3, the complex world of childhood. Where do we start? Maybe inherent personality.
Temperament.
Good place to start. Temperament isn't what a child does, but how they do it. It's their characteristic style of behaving, their disposition.
And there are different types identified early on.
Yes. The classic New York longitudinal study identified 3 main patterns. The largest group is easy children.
Easy meaning.
Generally playful, react positively to new things, adapt well to changes in routine or new foods, establish regular sleeping and eating patterns fairly easily.
Okay, sounds ideal. What are the others? Then you have difficult children. They tend to react negatively to new situations or people, can be quite irritable, and often struggle with regular schedules. Parenting them can require more patience and strategy.
And the third type?
Slow to warm up children. These kids have lower activity levels, tend to withdraw from new stimuli initially, and just need more time to adapt and feel comfortable in new situations.
It's important to remember this is seen as largely innate, right? Parents need to work with the child's temperament.
Absolutely. You adapt your approach. You don't try to force a slow to warm up child to be the life of the party instantly.
This innate style must interact immediately with their first relationships. Let's talk attachment.
Crucial concept. And we need to be clear. Attachment refers to the emotional bond the infant forms with their primary caregiver.
As distinct from bonding, which is more the parent's feeling toward the infant.
Exactly. We're focusing on the child's bond here. And our understanding was revolutionized by Harry and Marguerite Harlow's work.
With the baby monkeys. That research is famous.
It is. They showed that attachment wasn't primarily about food, which was the prevailing theory.
They had those surrogate mothers, one wire that gave milk, one soft cloth that didn't.
Right. And the infant monkeys overwhelmingly preferred clinging to the soft cloth mother, even if they had to reach over to the wire one for milk.
So contact, comfort, warmth, physical closeness was more important than just being fed.
Far more important for emotional security. It proved that soothing touch and comfort are fundamental to forming a secure attachment.
This set the stage for Mary Ainsworth's work.
Yes, she developed the strange situation procedure.
Which is designed to observe.
How infants react to being separated from their caregiver and then reunited. It's a structured observation.
And this revealed different patterns, different attachment styles.
4 main styles. The most common and generally healthiest is secure, type B.
How does a securely attached child behave in this strange situation?
They use the caregiver as a safe base to explore. They get upset when the caregiver leaves, but...
They're easily soothed when the caregiver comes back.
Exactly. They seek comfort, and it works. They reconnect quickly.
Okay. Then there are the insecure styles.
Right. First is insecure avoidant, type A. These infants show little distress when the parent leaves.
And kind of ignore them when they return.
Yes. They actively avoid interaction upon reunion. Then there's insecure resistant, type C.
How do they react?
They get very distressed by the separation, but when the caregiver returns, they seem ambivalent or resistant. They might push away comfort even while seeking it. It's contradictory.
Then the last one.
Disorganized, disoriented, type D. This is considered the most insecure pattern. These infants show confused, contradictory behaviors, maybe freezing or approaching, then backing away, often linked to difficult home environments or trauma.
And having a secure attachment early on, does it matter long term?
Oh, absolutely. The research consistently links secure attachment in infancy to better outcomes, later better social skills, higher self-esteem, better adjustment in school. It seems to set a template for future relationships.
That brings up a common question for parents today. What about daycare? Does sending your child to daycare harm that attachment bond?
It's a valid concern, but the research is actually quite reassuring. High-quality daycare has not been shown to negatively impact attachment security.
So it doesn't disrupt the primary bond?
No. And in many cases, good quality daycare can actually provide benefits, fostering independence, boosting language and cognitive skills. It acts as a supplement, not a replacement for the home environment.
Okay. Moving beyond that primary attachment, let's talk more broadly about child rearing. What makes for good parenting?
Well, it's not about being perfect. Key elements include modeling the behavior you want to see, setting clear and consistent rules, but also providing a warm, responsive, emotional environment.
And what about the role of fathers? Research used to focus almost entirely on mothers.
That's changed significantly. Fathers play a crucial, often distinct role. They might do less of the basic care, historically.
Feeding, bathing.
Right, but they often engage in more physical, stimulating play, rough and tumble play, for instance.
And does father involvement make a difference in outcomes?
Yes, the data is pretty clear. Engaged fathers, those who share meals, help with homework, spend leisure time, their kids tend to do better academically.
Interesting. Any specific effects noted?
There's some evidence suggesting that fathers who are emotionally attentive, especially to their daughters, might help foster greater empathy in girls.
It's important to remember, though, that parenting doesn't happen in a vacuum. Culture plays a huge role.
Absolutely. Child-rearing practices vary enormously across cultures. Some cultures prioritize early independence and self-reliance.
While others emphasize interdependence, fitting into the group.
Exactly. What's considered good or normal parenting is heavily influenced by cultural values.
That's a good lens for looking at Diana Baumrind's classic parenting styles. She looked at dimensions like control and warmth.
Right. She identified three main styles based on levels of demandingness, rules, expectations, and responsiveness, warmth, support.
The one often seen as most beneficial, at least in Western cultures, is authoritative.
Yes, authoritative parents are high on both dimensions. They set clear, reasonable limits, have high expectations, but they're also warm, responsive, and explain the reasons behind rules. They encourage independence.
And the outcome for kids?
Generally positive. Higher self-esteem, good social skills, a sense of competence.
Okay, what's the contrast? Authoritarian.
Authoritarian parents are high on demandingness, but low on responsiveness. Very strict, controlling, expect absolute obedience without question, because I said so.
And kids raised this way.
Often tend to be more inhibited, maybe moody or withdrawn, sometimes fearful or distrustful.
And the third style?
Permissive.
Permissive parents are the opposite. High on responsiveness, very affectionate, but low on demandingness. Very few rules or limits. Discipline is lax. Kind of an anything-goes approach.
What happens with those kids?
They often struggle with self-control, can be impulsive, and may lack independence because limits weren't set.
It's worth repeating that cultural context matters here, right? The authoritative style seems best in some societies, but maybe not universally. That's a crucial caveat. In some cultures, the stricter aspects of the authoritarian style might be viewed as necessary for teaching respect or navigating society. We have to be careful about universal prescriptions.
While parents shape the external world, Erikson gave us a map for the internal psychosocial journey through childhood. He saw it as a series of crises or challenges.
Yes, 4 key stages in childhood. First, trust versus mistrust in the first year. Can the infant learn to trust their caregiver and their environment?
Based on whether their needs are met consistently.
Right. Then comes autonomy versus shame and doubt from about age 1 to 3. Toddlers are asserting their independence, me do it, learning self-control, like with toilet training.
If they're constantly criticized, they develop shame and doubt.
Exactly. Stage 3 is initiative versus guilt, from 3 to 6. Kids are learning to initiate activities, make plans, lead play. They need to develop a sense of purpose.
And the last childhood stage.
Industry versus inferiority, roughly 6 to 12 years old. The focus shifts to school, learning skills, comparing themselves to peers. They need to feel competent and productive.
Okay, that covers the social self. But how does a child's thinking develop? For that, we have to turn to Jean Piaget.
Piaget, probably the most influential figure in cognitive development. He was a brilliant observer, especially of his own children.
And he believed kids actively construct their understanding.
Yes, they're not just absorbing info. They organize their world using mental frameworks he called schemas.
Schemas, like concepts or categories.
Sort of, yes. A mental structure for organizing information. And they adjust these schemas through a process called adaptation.
Adaptation helps them function better. And it involves 2 processes.
2 complementary ones. First is assimilation. That's when you fit new information into an existing schema.
Like a child knows dog is a furry, 4-legged animal. Sees a cat, calls it dog.
Perfect example. They're assimilating the cat into their dog schema, but then they need accommodation.
Which is changing the schema.
Right. Either modifying an existing schema or creating a whole new one. The child learns cats are different from dogs, so they adjust their four-legged, furry animal schema, maybe creating a new cat schema.
And this back and forth drives them through distinct stages.
Piaget proposed 4 universal stages in a fixed sequence. First is the sensoromotor stage, from birth to about 2 years.
Sensory and motor.
Yeah.
So learning through senses and actions.
Exactly. Touching, tasting, grasping, moving, exploring the physical world directly. The huge achievement here is object permanence.
Knowing things exist even when you can't see them. Peekaboo relies on them not having this yet, initially.
Right. Once they grasp object permanence, they can hold mental representations. That's a massive step.
Then comes the preoperational stage, from about 2 to 7 years.
Now they start using symbols language, pretend play,
Sure.
but their thinking is still, well, limited in specific ways.
What are those limitations?
A big one is egocentrism. They literally can't understand a situation from another person's physical or mental perspective.
Like the classic Three Mountains task. They assume you see what they see.
Precisely. They also show animistic thought, giving lifelike qualities to inanimate objects. The sun is happy today.
And centration.
That's focusing on only one aspect of a situation, usually the most obvious one, and ignoring others.
Which leads to their failure on conservation tasks.
Exactly. Conservation is understanding that quantity, number, mass, volume stays the same even if the appearance changes.
Like pouring water into a different shaped glass.
Right. The preoperational child centers on the height of the water in the tall, thin glass and insists it has more, ignoring the width. They can't mentally undo the pouring either. That's irreversibility.
Okay, when do they overcome these limits?
In the concrete operational stage, roughly 7 to 11 years old.
Concrete. So they can think logically, but about real things.
Yes. They master conservation. They can understand reversibility. They can reason logically about concrete objects and events they can see or manipulate.
But not abstract ideas yet.
Generally, no. Abstract hypothetical thinking comes in the final stage. Formal operational stage.
Starting around puberty, 11 or 12.
Typically. This marks cognitive maturity in Piaget's view. Now, they can think abstractly, reason hypothetically, consider multiple possibilities, systematically test ideas.
Like scientific reasoning.
Exactly. But it's important to note, Piaget himself acknowledged not everyone reaches or consistently uses formal operational thinking, even as adults.
Now, Piaget's theory was groundbreaking, but it has critics.
It does. Some argue he underestimated what younger children can do, partly because his methods might have been too complex or language-dependent.
And he based a lot on observing just a few kids, including his own.
Right. Plus, a major critique is that he didn't give enough weight to social and cultural influences on the timing of development.
Which is where Vygotsky comes in.
Exactly. Vygotsky, a Russian psychologist, offered a sociocultural theory. He emphasized that cognitive development happens in a social context.
Learning from others.
Yes. Especially through interactions with more knowledgeable adults and peers. Language is absolutely central to this process.
His key idea was the zone of proximal development, the ZPD.
Right. The ZPD is the gap between what a child can already do independently.
And what they can achieve with guidance and support.
Precisely. It's that sweet spot where learning is most effective, challenging, but achievable with help. Think of it as assisted learning, like scaffolding.
That social interaction pushes development forward. And that leads us nicely into the next big phase, often full of social shifts and internal searching. Module 4, Adolescence.
Adolescence, that bridge between puberty and early adulthood. It kicks off with puberty, the period of rapid physical growth and sexual maturation.
Which lasts a few years.
Usually 3 to 4 years, ending with reproductive capability.
And the timing of puberty seems to matter psychologically. We know girls are starting earlier now.
Yes, on average, due to better nutrition and health. And that timing can have different effects for boys and girls.
How so?
For boys, maturing early often brings advantages: bigger, stronger, maybe more athletic success, higher self-esteem.
But later maturing boys might struggle more socially.
Sometimes, yes, they might feel inadequate or be teased. For girls, though, the pattern can be different.
Early maturation for girls is linked to
Often more challenges. Lower self-esteem, negative body image, unwanted attention from older boys, sometimes associating with older peers, and engaging in more problem behaviors.
So the social context really interacts with the biological timing.
Absolutely. And there seems to be a general link for both boys and girls. Maturing significantly earlier than peers is associated with a higher risk of problem behaviors. They might look older, but aren't emotionally ready for the world they're pushed into.
Cognitively, adolescents typically reach Piaget's formal operational stage. They can think abstractly.
Yes, they can handle hypothetical problems, think about possibilities.
Yet they often seem incredibly self-absorbed. There's a specific kind of egocentrism here, too.
Yes, adolescent egocentrism. It's different from the preoperational kind. It shows up in two main ways.
Okay, what's the first?
The imaginary audience. This is the belief that everyone else is as preoccupied with their appearance and behavior as they are themselves.
So that intense embarrassment over a tiny pimple or saying a wrong thing.
Comes from feeling like they're on stage and everyone is watching and judging.
And the second part?
The personal fable. This is the belief that their own feelings and experiences are completely unique. No one has ever felt this way. And also that they are somehow special or invulnerable to harm.
That won't happen to me.
Exactly. Bad things happen to other people. This combination of feeling watched but also immune helps explain why adolescents sometimes take more risks.
This period is also critical for moral development. Lawrence Kohlberg's stages are famous here.
Yes, though it's maybe more helpful to think about his 3 broad levels of moral reasoning.
Okay, level 1.
Pre-conventional level. Here, morality is based purely on consequences for the self. Avoiding punishment, stage 1, or getting rewards, stage 2. It's about self-interest.
Stealing is wrong because you'll get caught.
Essentially, yes. Level 2 is the conventional level.
Conforming to rules.
Right. Morality is based on conforming to social rules and expectations, seeking approval from others, stage 3, good boy, good girl, or upholding laws and maintaining social order, stage 4, authority, law, and order.
Most adults operate here, right?
Kohlberg thought so. The final level, post-conventional level, is based on abstract ethical principles.
This requires formal operational thought.
Generally, yes. People at this level might see laws as flexible social contracts, stage 5, or base decisions on universal ethical principles like justice or equality, even if they conflict with laws, stage 6.
But Kohlberg's theory faced a major criticism related to gender.
A huge one. His original research was done entirely with male participants.
And Carol Gilligan pointed out
That his stages, emphasizing justice and rights, reflected a male justice orientation. She argued women often approach moral dilemmas differently, focusing more on relationships, caring, and responsibility to others, a care orientation.
And importantly, she argued, neither is better, just different.
Exactly. Not superior or inferior, just different lenses shaped partly by socialization. It showed how gender could influence moral reasoning itself.
Psychosocially, the big theme for adolescence is the push for autonomy.
Yes, that drive for independence from parents. It's necessary for forming their own identity.
But it often leads to conflict, arguments about rules, freedom.
Some friction is normal, yes, negotiating boundaries. But our sources stress that constant serious conflict isn't typical or healthy. The goal is individuation, becoming your own person, not total alienation from family.
And this struggle feeds right into Erikson's big challenge for this stage.
His 5th stage, identity versus role confusion.
The central task is figuring out who you are.
Right. Achieving ego identity, a solid sense of self, your values, where you're headed in life. This often involves a period of questioning and exploration, the identity crisis.
And if you don't resolve that,
You risk role confusion, feeling adrift, directionless, unsure of your place or purpose, trying on different roles without finding one that fits.
and physically, puberty means reproductive capability becomes a reality.
Yes, usually around age 17 or so, though actual sexual activity varies widely.
The statistic mentioned was less than 40% of high schoolers being sexually active.
Right. It indicates that factors like personal values, concerns about consequences, and family beliefs still play a strong role in adolescent choices.
Okay, emerging from that intense identity work, we enter the long stretch of adulthood. Module 5, Navigating Adulthood.
And we often start now with this idea of emerging adulthood.
Ages roughly 18 to 25.
Yeah, it's seen as a distinct period, especially in developed nations, a time of exploration, instability, figuring out career paths, relationships, often delaying traditional adult markers like marriage or settling down.
A time of sorting things out. Cognitively, what's happening in early adulthood.
This is often seen as the peak for certain abilities, but also the start of some gradual declines. We need to distinguish 2 types of intelligence.
Okay, what are they?
First, fluid intelligence. This is your ability to reason quickly and abstractly, solve novel problems, think flexibly, your mental processing speed.
And that peaks.
usually in early adulthood. And then it begins a slow, gradual decline through middle and later adulthood.
So learning totally new things gets a bit harder over time.
It can, yes. But the other type is crystallized intelligence.
Which is?
Your accumulated knowledge, verbal skills, wisdom gained from experience, using what you already know.
And how does that change?
Crystallized intelligence tends to keep increasing through middle age and remains relatively stable well into later life.
So you might process new info slower, but your knowledge base is much richer.
Exactly. Older adults often compensate for fluid decline by relying on their strong crystallized abilities and experience.
Physically, what changes are starting in early and middle adulthood?
Well, believe it or not, muscle mass starts a very gradual decline even in the late 20s.
Really? That early?
Yes, leading to a slow loss of strength over decades. But regular exercise, especially weight-bearing exercise, can significantly offset this.
And for women, the major midlife change?
Menopause, the cessation of menstruation, marking the end of reproductive capability, usually late 40s, early 50s.
Men don't have an equivalent.
Not in the same way. They experience hormonal changes, but generally maintain fertility much longer.
Back to Erikson. What are the psychosocial challenges of adulthood?
In young adulthood, it's intimacy versus isolation. The focus is on forming close, intimate relationships, typically romantic partnerships. Failure leads to loneliness and isolation.
And in middle adulthood?
The crisis is generativity versus stagnation.
Generativity meaning?
Contributing to the next generation, making a mark through raising children, mentoring, career achievements, community involvement, leaving a legacy.
And stagnation is the opposite. Feeling stuck, unproductive, self-absorbed.
Exactly, a sense of having contributed little of value.
Daniel Levinson also talked about midlife, specifically a midlife transition.
Yes, around age 40. He saw it as a time of potentially intense reflection and reassessment, looking back at youthful dreams, evaluating current life structure.
Can this lead to the famous midlife crisis?
It can, but it's crucial to stress this isn't inevitable or even common. The crisis involves feeling trapped, mourning lost youth, maybe making drastic changes.
But most people just go through a transition or reevaluation.
Exactly. The dramatic crisis stereotype is largely overblown. More often, it's a period of adjustment and setting new goals for the second half of life.
Okay, that brings us to the final stage. Module 6. Late adulthood and the final chapter. What happens physically and cognitively?
Generally, we see continued gradual declines in sensory abilities. Vision, hearing, and motor skills slow down.
And memory. That's a big concern for many people.
Yes. Working memory, holding, and manipulating information can become less efficient. Retrieving newly learned information might take longer.
But is this decline usually severe?
For most people experiencing normal aging, no. It's usually not significant enough to interfere badly with daily life or activities they enjoy.
And can we influence how well our cognitive function holds up?
Definitely. Staying mentally active, engaging in stimulating activities, being open to new experiences, maintaining social connections, these are all linked to better cognitive retention. Physical exercise helps too.
But sometimes the decline is much more severe. Dementia.
Right. Dementia is a significant decline in mental abilities, severe enough to interfere with daily life. And it's important to repeat, dementia is not a normal part of aging.
It's a disease process, the most common cause being
Alzheimer's disease, AD. This is an irreversible brain disease that progresses gradually.
What are the key symptoms?
It starts often with memory loss, especially for recent events, but progresses to profound memory impairment, poor judgment, disorientation, changes in personality.
And we know what's happening in the brain.
We know some key markers. The buildup of beta amyloid plaques between neurons and neurofibrillary tangles made of tau protein inside neurons. These disrupt communication and eventually kill brain cells.
Is there a cure? Or treatments that stop it?
Unfortunately, no cure yet. We still don't fully understand what triggers it. Current medications can manage some symptoms for a time, but they don't halt or reverse the underlying disease progression.
Psychosocially, what's Erikson's final challenge?
Ego, integrity versus despair.
Integrity means?
Looking back on life with a sense of wholeness, meaning, and acceptance. Feeling satisfied with the life lived despite regrets or hardships. Coming to terms with it all.
And despair.
Is the feeling that life was wasted. Bitterness, regret, fear of death without a sense of completion.
Levinson also emphasized this stage involves facing physical decline and mortality.
Yes, an increasing awareness of life's finiteness and the need to find meaning in that context.
But late adulthood isn't just about decline. There's the concept of successful aging.
Absolutely. It's about adapting effectively. Key strategies involve,
Optimizing resources.
yes, making the most of what you still have, energy, time, cognitive strengths, and compensating for losses.
Like using memory aids if recall is slower, or focusing social energy on close relationships.
Exactly. Using strategies to work around limitations. Maintaining a positive outlook and continuing to seek challenges and engagement are also crucial.
Finally, we have to touch on coping with the end of life itself. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's work on the stages of dying is well known.
Yes, she observed patterns in how people cope with terminal illness or profound loss. She proposed 5 stages.
First is denial, disbelief,
Right, this can't be happening. Then often comes anger. Why me? It's not fair.
followed by bargaining, trying to make deals.
Yes, maybe with doctors or, God, if I just live until X, I'll do Y. Then often depression.
The deep sadness about the impending loss.
Loss of life, loss of loved ones, loss of experiences. And finally, ideally, final acceptance.
A sense of peace, maybe withdrawal, accepting the inevitable.
But Kubler-Ross herself stressed this isn't a rigid sequence everyone must go through in order.
People might skip stages, revisit them, experience them differently.
Exactly. It's a framework for understanding common emotional responses, not a strict pathway. The process is highly individual.
So we've covered an incredible amount of ground. From the germinal stage, infant reflexes, attachment, childhood thinking, the identity struggles of adolescence, adult challenges, all the way to ego integrity and facing mortality.
It really is the entire sweep of psychological life. Developmental psychology gives us that framework, that map.
It helps you understand, hopefully, a bit more about why you are the way you are now and how you got here.
And how you're still changing. We saw nature setting the basic sequence, but nurture constantly interacting, attachment quality, the ZPD, cultural norms.
And here's a really interesting final thought, building on Erikson. He stressed how powerful those early childhood experiences are: trust, autonomy, initiative.
Definitely. They lay a foundation.
But he also believed that later life experiences, choices made in adulthood, can actually counteract or reshape the impact of those early influences.
That's a really hopeful perspective, isn't it? Development isn't deterministic.
Exactly. So the question for you, the listener, is this. If development is this lifelong process of adaptation, and we know things like crystallized intelligence and the ability to compensate can remain strong, how much power does your intentional adult choice have? How much can you actively shape your own psychological future, even perhaps overcoming challenging early experiences?
It suggests the story isn't over. Your development is still unfolding, and you're still an active participant in writing it.